Marine geology or geological oceanography is the study of the history and structure of the ocean floor. It involves geophysical, geochemical, sedimentological and paleontological investigations of the ocean floor and coastal zone. Marine geology has strong ties to physical oceanography. Geology is the study of the earth. This scientific study includes how the earth was formed, how the earth has changed since it was formed, that materials that make up the earth, and understanding the processes that act on it. Marine geology focuses these studies in areas affected by our oceans. These are the deep ocean floor, the shallower slopes and shelves that surround the continents, and especially the coasts, which include beaches, estuaries, rivers, and large lakes. Many of the processes that impact the earth occur partially or completely below the surface of the oceans. These processes act on different spatial and temporal scales. Some occur over geological time scales, building mountains and volcanoes, forming ore deposits, and changing the Earth's climate, while others act more quickly, resulting in tsunamis, triggering slow failures, and affecting benthic biological communities. Although the ocean floor covers 70% of the earth, only a small fraction has been investigated in detail. This chapter focuses on the following modules: marine geology, an overview, the development of an ocean basin, oceanographic Scientific geological study of the sea floor began with the investigations of floor deposits by the English oceanographic expedition on the Challenger in 1872-76. During the expeditions, the basic characteristics of the ocean floor relief and types of floor deposits were determined, knowledge of distribution of floor deposits was gained, methods of collecting samples were developed, eco-sounding was introduced, and the first scientific reports appeared. Marine geology developed swiftly in the mid-1950s with the development of new types of ships and technical means and methods of deep water geological, geophysical, and geomorphological research. The scientific and practical tasks of marine geology were expanded. Specifically, the question of developing the mineral resources of the sea floor above all the shelves was raised. Complete sections of marine sediments from the Cenozoic and Cretaceous were obtained, and some boreholes also produced sediments of the upper Jurassic, making it possible to determine the structure of the sedimentary layer of the oceanic crust and the geological history of the oceans much more precisely. Marine geology basics. Marine geology is that branch of geology that studies the geological structure and development of that part of the Earth's crust that makes up the floor of the seas and oceans. In studying the sea floor, marine geology encompasses all the major branches of geological science: lithology, petrology, tectonics, quaternary and historical geology, stratigraphy, paleontography, and the science of mineral resources. Marine geology uses the methods and findings of these branches and of related sciences such as geomorphology, geophysics, and geochemistry. Geological research in the ocean is carried on by means of boring, dragging, and the use of submarines and submersible apparatus with special equipment. The principal theoretical task of modern marine geology for geology as a whole is to determine the basic principles governing the geological structure of the Earth's crust and the history of development of the crust. In this, marine geology relies above all on the comparative study of sections of the continents and floor of the oceans. The stratigraphy of the sediments of the present day seas and oceans is based primarily on the study of microfauna and microflora. Paleomagnetic methods and the methods of nuclear geochronology are also used. Also important are the lithological investigations for the purpose of studying modern and ancient sediment and ore formation in different physico-geographical and tectonic conditions. These investigations are closely linked to the study of the mineralogy and geochemistry of floor sediments. Special petrological investigations of the igneous and metamorphic rocks of the seafloor are being conducted. The connections between these rocks and underwater volcanic activities and processes occurring in the Earth's crust and upper mantle are being studied. Marine processes. First, tides. The term tide describes the periodic and regular variations in sea level, which have coherent amplitude and phase relationship to some periodic geophysical forces. These tidal motions of water masses are a form of very long period wave motion resulting in a rise and fall of the water surface, giving rise to episodes of high tide and low tide. Second, waves. Waves involve water motions which are largely confined to the surface and may be described as the surface disturbances of a fluid medium. There are also waves that form below the surface. The generation and subsequent propagation of waves can result from changes in air pressure caused, for example, by wind acting directly on and putting some stress on the water surface. Another possible cause is any significant disturbance of the basin, that is, the Earth's crust, holding seawater, such as during an earthquake with the resulting tsunami. Third, wave reflection, refraction and diffraction. Wave refraction is due to the decrease in wave velocity as waves move into shallow water and is observed in deep waters. Waves can also be reflected and diffracted in shallow water. For example, waves moving against a vertical sea wall or a steep cliff will be reflected back towards sea. Wave diffraction causes energy to be transferred along a wave crest. Fourth, currents. The main type of currents responsible for transport in the ocean are tidal currents, wave-generated longshore currents, rip currents, and oceanic currents. The rise and fall in sea level generate currents which are called tidal currents. When waves break obliquely to the shoreline, they generate wave currents in the direction of the wave opening. Rip currents flow seawards perpendicular to the shoreline when waves break. Rip currents are responsible for transporting sediments out of sea, particularly in the surf zone. Fifth, oceanic circulation. Oceanic circulation can be considered from two angles: wind-driven, that is mostly surface circulation, and thermohaline, that is mostly intermediate and deep circulation. Ocean basin collectively covers nearly 3/4 of Earth's surface. Together they contain the overwhelming majority of all water on the planet and have an average depth of almost 4 km, about 2.5 miles. A number of major features of the basin depart from the average. For example, the mountainous ocean ridges, deep sea trenches, and jagged linear fracture zones. Other significant features of the ocean floor include seismic ridges, abyssal hills, and sea mounds and guyots. The basins also contain a variable amount of sedimentary fill that is thinnest on the ocean ridges and usually thickest near the continent margins. While the ocean basin lie much lower than sea level, the continents stand high about 1 kilometer or 0.6 mile above sea level. The physical explanation for this condition is that the continental crust is light and thick while the oceanic crust is dense and thin. Both the continental and oceanic crust lie over a more uniform layer called the mantle. The ocean basins are transient features over geologic time, changing shape and depth while the process of plate tectonics occurs. The surface layer of Earth, the lithosphere, consists of a number of rigid plates that are in continual motion. The boundaries between the lithospheric plates form the principal relief features of the ocean basin. The crest of oceanic ridges are spreading centers where two plates move apart from each other at a rate of several centimeters per year. The dominant factors that govern seafloor relief and topography are the thermal properties of the oceanic plates, tensional forces in the plates, volcanic activity, and sedimentation. In brief, the oceanic ridges rise about 2 km, that is 1.2 miles, above the seafloor because the plates near these spreading centers are warm and thermally expanded. In contrast, plates in the subduction zones are generally cooler. Tensional forces resulting in plate divergence at the spreading centers also create block faulted mountains and abyssal hills which trend parallel to the oceanic ridges. Seamounts and guyots, as well as abyssal hills and most aseismic ridges, are produced by volcanism. Continuing sedimentation throughout the ocean basin serves to blanket and bury many of the faulted mountains and abyssal hills with time. Erosion plays a relatively minor role in shaping the face of the deep sea floor, in contrast to the continents. This is because deep ocean currents are generally slow. They flow at less than 50 centimeters or 20 inches per second and lack sufficient power. Exploration of the ocean basins. Mapping the characteristics of the ocean basin has been difficult for several reasons. First, the oceans are not easy to travel over. Second, until recent times, navigation has been extremely crude, so that individual observations have been only loosely correlated with one another. And finally, the oceans are opaque to light. That is, the deep sea floor cannot be seen from the ocean surface. Modern technology has given rise to customized research vessels, satellite and electronic navigation, and sophisticated acoustic instruments that mitigate some of these problems. Three major navigation systems are in use in modern marine geology. These include electromagnetic systems such as LORAN and Earth orbiting satellites, acoustic transponder arrays of 2 or more stations placed on the seafloor a few kilometers apart are used to navigate deeply towed instruments, submarines, submersibles, and occasionally surface research vessels when detailed mapping is conducted in small areas. Deep sea sediments. The ocean basin floor is everywhere covered by sediments of different types and origins. The only exceptions are the crest of the spreading centers where new ocean floor has not existed long enough to accumulate a sediment cover. Sediment thickness in the oceans averages about 450 meters, that is around 1,500 feet. The sediment cover in the Pacific Basin ranges from 300 to 600 meters, that is about 1,000 to 2,000 feet thick, and that in the Atlantic is about 1,000 meters. Generally, the thickness of sediments on the oceanic crust increases with the age of the crust. Oceanic crust adjacent to the continents can be deeply buried by several kilometers of sediment. Deep sea sediments can reveal much about the last 200 million years of Earth's history, including seafloor spreading, the history of ocean life, the behavior of Earth's magnetic field, and the changes in the ocean currents and climate. Sediment types. Deep sea sediments can be classified as terrigenous, originating from land, as biogenic, consisting largely of the skeletal debris of microorganisms, or as orthogenic, formed in place on the seafloor. Pelagic sediments, either terrigenous or biogenic, are those that are deposited very slowly in the open ocean, either by setting through the volume of oceanic water or by precipitation. The sinking rates of pelagic sediment grains are extremely slow because they ordinarily are no larger than several micrometers. However, fine particles are normally bundled into fissile pellets by zooplankton, which allows sinking at a rate of 40 to 400 meters per day. Sedimentation patterns. The patterns of sedimentation in the ocean basins have not been static over geologic time. The existing basins, no more than 200 million years old, contain a highly variable sedimentary record. The major factor behind the variations is plate movements and related changes in climate and ocean water circulation. Since about 200 million years ago, a single vast ocean basin has given way to 5 or 6 smaller ones. The climate has changed from warm and mild to cool, stormy and glacial. Plate movements have altered the course of surface and deep ocean currents and changed the patterns of upwelling, productivity and biogenic sedimentation. Changes in seafloor. Changes in seafloor spreading rates and glaciations have caused sea levels to rise and fall, greatly altering the deep sea sedimentation pattern of both terrigenous and biogenic sediments. Bottom currents have changed, becoming erosive or non-depositional in some regions to produce geological unconformities, that is, gaps in the geological record, and redistribute enormous volumes of sediment to other locations. Evolution of the ocean basins. Through most of geologic time, probably extending back to 2 billion years, the ocean basins have both grown and been consumed as plate tectonics continued on Earth. The latest phase of ocean basin growth began just less than 200 million years ago with the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea, the enormous landmass composed of nearly all present-day continents. The oldest known oceanic crust, estimated to be about 200 million years old, is located in the far western equatorial Pacific, east of the Mariana Island arc. The Pacific Ocean floor at this site was generated during seafloor spreading from a pattern of ridges and plates that had existed for some unknown period of time. At least 5 different seafloor spreading centers were involved. In the Indian Ocean, the oldest segment of seafloor was formed about 165 to 145 million years ago by the rifting away of Africa and South America from Gondwana, a supercontinent consisting largely of the present-day continents of the southern hemisphere. Instruments used in marine geology. Instruments for oceanographic measurements and data gathering must have certain qualities: high sensitivity and good reproducibility, so that even small fluctuations in thermodynamic variables can be identified; salt resistance, ability to withstand hydrostatic pressure and supply data not affected by pressure effects; sufficiently robust to cope with rough field conditions. First, bathymetry. Bathymetry is the distance, water depth, between the water surface and the sea bottom. Methods that are used to determine water depths are as follows. First, measurement of hydrostatic pressure. From hydrostatic pressure P of a water column, the mean density of which is known the depth Z or Z is obtained according to the hydrostatic basic equation, where Z equals to 1 upon P into G. Here, G is acceleration due to gravity, and pressure measurements can be made with Bourdon tubes or well tubes. Second, measurement of sinking time of a free falling probe offers a very simple method for the determination of depth. Third, a special measurement by means of an echo sounder which sends a pulse through the water to the seabed. This pulse returns to the receiver, where conversion of the speed and time is made to obtain the depth, that is d, based on the formula d equals to 0.5 v into t, where v is velocity of the pulse, which is 1500 meter per second, and t is time of travel of pulse. Second, measurement of tide, that is water level variation. Two types of gauges are used for measuring tidal variations: non-registering and self-registering. Non-registering gauges require the presence of an observer to measure and record the height of the tide. Self-registering or automatic gauge automatically record the rise and fall of the tide while unattended. Non-registering gauges include the tide staff, securing in a vertical position by fastening it to the pile or other suitable support. The height of tides can be read from the gradations on the staff. Self-recording tide gauges include float gauges, pneumatic gauge, acoustic gauge. A depth recorder can also be used to measure tides from submerged capsules and platforms. Third, measurement of ocean surface waves. Waves can be measured from the seafloor, at the sea surface, or from an aircraft. The most important method of measuring waves from the seafloor is the recording of bottom pressure fluctuations that reflect surface waves and which can be used to calculate surface displacements in accordance with the linear wave theory. Another method, though of less importance, is the measurement with a reversing echo sounder. Float gauges and electrical measuring devices are suited for measurement from the sea surface. Fourth, measurement of currents. Two quantities must be determined by sensors for current measurements. These are the absolute value and the direction of the velocity or its components in a right-angled coordinate system. Measurements of currents can also be made from a moored vessel with the current meter lowered into the water. Fifth, drift measurements. Drift measurements are made on the surface by a variety of floats. Systematic drift measurements in the near surface layers are carried out with drift bottles or with drift cards in plastic envelopes. This method only gives the starting and final points and a rough estimate of the time span of the drift. Sixth, water sampling devices. Properties of seawater are best measured in situ. If this is not possible, the water has to be collected and analyzed in the laboratory. A number of sampling bottles can be attached to the same wire of a hydrographic winch to obtain multiple samples simultaneously. Seventh, measurement of temperature. An ordinary mercury thermometer is the simplest way of obtaining the temperature of a surface of water sample taken in a bucket. At the other extreme, sea surface temperature can also be read from aircraft and satellites by observing the intensity of the infrared radiation of seawater within the wavelength range of 8 to 12 micrometer. Water temperature in deeper waters is measured with reversing thermometers with an accuracy of up to plus or minus 0.1 degrees Celsius. Eighth, measurement of salinity. Salinity can be calculated on the basis of well-known functional relationships by determining physical properties such as density, optical refractive index, electrical conductivity, or sound velocity, and in addition temperature and pressure. Chemical methods based on chlorine content can also be used to calculate the salinity of water samples. Ninth, measurement of sound velocity. Seawater distribution of sound velocity in space is determined either indirectly from measurements of temperature, salinity and pressure, or directly from measurements of travel time of wavelength. 10th, measurement of density. In coastal waters with strong differences in hydrographic stratification, density is determined indirectly through salinity, temperature, and pressure. Direct measurements of the specific weight, however, are required for fundamental determinations and also in cases when it is not certain that the content of seawater is constant. 11th, measurement of the content of suspended materials. Suspended particles are of different sizes and shapes and may be organic or inorganic. Methods of measurements are either direct or indirect. Direct methods involve the filtration of water samples with the subsequent weighing and examination of the residue. Indirect methods are based on the measurement of the attenuation and the scattering of light as well as the reflection of sound by particles suspended in seawater. 12th, measurement of dissolved substances. Dissolved substances in seawater are measured for two principal purposes. The first is to determine the basic composition of these components, which are only slightly influenced by biological processes, if at all. The second is to record whole ocean areas in space and time and to observe biochemical processes in a delimited region. Gravimetric proportion analysis, volumetric and colorimetric methods were earlier used to measure the dissolved substances in water. Thank you very much.